Yeah. Okay, the Jentry Podcast. I know that you will be loving it. We here to break it down so that you start to understand your local government. Who are the leaders? Time to get active, do something about it. Dealing with jobs, the workforce, and affordable housing. Motivate and inspire. Elevate, take it higher. For the next generation. Knowledge is power for your community. Giving you the info that you really need. Time to make a change and a difference. Tune in, don't miss it. It's the Jentry. The Jentry Podcast. The Jentry Podcast. Making a change, switching it up.
Hello, this is Jonathan Mason, and this is the Jentry Podcast. Today, we have an incredible guest. We have Chris McGuire. He is the city manager of Altoona, Pennsylvania, but he's more than that. He has given us over 3 decades worth of service. He is an Army veteran, and he has done so much for his community. I can't even wait to get into it. Even to this day, he has some big things coming up for us after this podcast. So, Chris, how are you doing? And thank you for being here.
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you for the opportunity to be part of this podcast and tell the story about all the great things we're doing here in Altoona.
I'm so excited, and I know you have a busy day today, so I thank you for being here. But let's get right into it. So what is the secret sauce of Altoona? What makes it the best place to live in the United States?
Well, it's a fantastic community that has really deep roots. There's a lot of citizen engagement and a real sense of community. So that makes coming to work every day and trying to find creative and innovative ways to deliver service to the citizens and make this community even a better community is why I come to work every single morning with a smile on my face and just love what I'm doing.
I can totally appreciate that and feel in our last conversation, like I felt the appreciation for Altoona that you had. But let's take a step back. How did you get into public service? What was your career like? Did you know, even as a child, did you know that this is where you were going to be?
Yeah, I think it started as a child. My father was in the military and then was a police officer. My mother was a nurse, and my whole family has a history of public service. So that led me into the military and then finishing my career as a Department of Army civilian. So it's a non-traditional path into municipal government. But I had the great fortune of the last part of my career working for the Army's Installation Management Command. It's a command that most people don't realize or understand exists, but they are the Army city managers that run the installations worldwide. So I spent time as a director of emergency services in California, where I was responsible for police, fire, EMS, physical security, anti-terrorism efforts, 911, medevac operations. I was an executive officer at Fort Lee. And then my final assignment was in Kosovo as the deputy commander for Area Support Group Balkans. And then I had the opportunity, once I retired, for a city manager role in Texas, and then here to the city of Altoona. So it's been a depth and breadth of experiences, having the international experience, and then really having that enterprise perspective coming out of the Department of Defense and having that global perspective I think has really helped me become well-rounded.
I totally agree, Chris. And I have to I'll admit to the viewers, when you were explaining it, I didn't know that existed either, but it makes so much sense. Like, I don't know why I didn't understand that. You have to have, like, those are installations, those are cities, those are ecosystems that have to be run and managed. And for you to be able to do that, of course you can run a city. Could you kind of speak to, because this is a Utah State senator, and she was telling me one of the things that she did, the bills that she passed, was it allowed military members I forget what she said, it was almost like a crosswalk. It takes your skills that you have in the military and it translates them into the private market. So when you're saying you were XYZ, you know that you've been doing, they just put it in private market speak, and then also do some credentialing. So when you transition, you can use those skills and those credentials very easily. Now for you, it seemed like you were almost doing the job. Did that translate in the hiring process, and how does it translate on the actual job you're doing now?
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. It did translate. You know, one thing that as a city manager, it's actually a little bit less responsibility that it is when you're in the installation management command and you're looking at garrison operations. Not only are you running a full service city and all the challenges that come with it, But then there's the added complexity of childcare centers. That's not something that city managers have to worry about. Credentialed childcare centers, morale, welfare, and recreation. So there's so much overlap between what goes on in installation management and running a city. It just seemed like the natural progression for me when I knew my career was coming to the end and I was going to retire, that I really felt that I could easily move into the role with not a steep learning curve. Now, obviously, ordinances, the way budget cycles in municipal government run are different than what you're accustomed to on the military side. But it was finding that ability to, like you said, to be able to articulate how that military experience is a direct carryover. And the other thing that is really made it easy for a lot of veterans is ICMAs has the veterans group, and they're really championing the skill sets that the military brings. I mean, you've got ingrained leadership training and abilities. You've led in very complex situations, in global situations where there's national security interest. So I think cities are starting to appreciate that there's a whole talent set out there that's untapped. And if you really want an enterprise perspective, there's tons of veterans that are coming out of the military right now that have been in leadership roles that could easily assimilate into city management.
Very, very true. And obviously, even just for what I do with the podcast, we've done about 50 episodes. A large number of those people have been veterans, and it makes so much sense. Like you said, all of the skills that are table stakes in the military, like you have to have these skills, and it's not just, are you going to get yelled at by council, or are your constituents going to be, community members going to be angry? Some of these situations are life and death. So if you can do it at that level, I can only imagine. And it makes sense to me why so many people that I speak to are veterans, and they're doing so well. Now, let's talk about your journey from Texas to Altoona. What were some of the differences in the communities there, and what made you think of making the switch?
So Texas right now is, growth opportunities for cities. It's a completely different challenge. You're managing massive growth. The influx of business coming into the state of Texas right now is astronomical. But with that comes some very specific challenges. If you're running a city, you're on the front end of massive growth. So there's complete infrastructure challenges. How do you stay ahead of that growth? As I transitioned into the position here in Altoona, it was the opposite side of the equation. It's a very established community, pretty well developed and built out. So now everything becomes about infill development and revitalization and reimagining what the next 100 years for the city of Altoona is going to look like. So a challenge, but it's very meaningful. And I think we're doing some very good things here. I'm very fortunate that this city council and the mayor have very strong vision, and they put a lot of time and effort in the last 2 years into developing a comprehensive plan and then looking at how we implement that comprehensive plan, how we tackle blight, how we do the infill development, how we revitalize our downtown area, and all doing this by being cost conscious and making sound decisions. It's given me the opportunity as the city manager to take a holistic view of all our operations. And they've given me a tremendous amount of leeway to drive organizational and operational excellence. So we've holistically gone through top to bottom every one of our processes. We found some processes that were very, very effective. And we found some other ones where there were some real pain points that we needed to reevaluate how we were operating as a city, make ourselves more business friendly, more user friendly to the public, and then use our resources wisely so that we're supporting that comprehensive.
Yes, and it sounds like you hit a lot of the major things in that comprehensive plan, but I'd love to double click on maybe two of those. Maybe could you address how you guys are looking at blight? That's something that I hear quite often, and then some of the development that you talked about kind of spurring. I'd love to kind of hear some of the strategies you guys are potentially using.
So blight is a challenge everywhere right now. Affordable housing. Our approach to that is we've implemented several programs. We have an aggressive rental program that our codes department is doing rental enforcements. We're trying to make the standard of living for anyone that's renting that's a property owner is giving a quality product to the renters and then protecting the renters' rights. And then simultaneously, we've stood up a blighted property review committee. Codes, as they're doing their enforcement, we're identifying properties very early on in the process that are falling into disrepair. And we have the ability in Pennsylvania to use the Land Bank Authority and the Redevelopment Authority powers. So if there's properties that we can get involved in early in the process before they require a tear down, we've created public-private partnerships through the Redevelopment Authority and the Land Bank with area developers and builders to take those properties, renovate them, get them back on the tax roll, and then solve part of the affordable housing problem. But there are a number of properties that are beyond repair, and that's part of our due diligence process is figure out, is this past the point of trying to salvage? And if it is, we're tearing down those properties and we have them in the land bank so that we're marketing them back to community developers. One of the things that we're doing right now is the Redevelopment Authority just purchased roughly 16 acres of land, and we're going to take on over the next couple of years a subdivision project in that part of the city where we purchase the land, and we think that that will help. That neighborhood is a little higher end. So we're trying to create that mix of the entry-level housing up to more upper scale housing. So far this year, we've demolished 30 homes, and we have 50 more that are scheduled in various phases of scheduling and demolition. And it's about creating that community buy-in. We're getting a lot of reception from the neighborhoods that we're doing work in. One of them that we talked about earlier 2 weeks ago was a project where we had an outside investor come in, was going to spend a considerable amount of money to take a building that had previous fire damage and put it back into an apartment with full amenities. And it's really for that neighborhood, it's going to become an anchor project that we fully believed was going to help stimulate growth and investment in that neighborhood. The house next door to that apartment was a house that had a tremendous amount of drug activity. The police department had done a number of arrests and seizures in that property. The property got behind on taxes. The city, we came in when it went to the sheriff's auction using the Redevelopment Authority. We purchased that property and we demoed that property and did an agreement with the developer of the apartment next door. He bared the cost of the demolition, which saved us about $15,000. And we did a deed transfer of that vacant land to him so that he could expand the parking lot for the apartment to attract some more amenities. The day that we tore the house down, we had about a dozen phone calls here to City Hall with people in the neighborhood saying, this is exactly what we were hoping the city was going to do when you announced the comprehensive plan. And then I had somebody call me the very next day and said, we're so motivated that we're painting our house, and had people come in and start pulling building permits. So that's really been what we believe is going to be the key, is if we can get into these neighborhoods, make a meaningful impact, we're going to help the citizens, we're going to increase property values. It really becomes that cascade effect. And it's nice to see. It's nice to see when you're getting phone calls in the city hall and it's not an issue or a concern, but it's somebody saying, hey, you guys did something really good for the community. You cherish those moments because they don't happen that often.
No, Chris, first and foremost, congratulations and job well done. You know, I've always been very candid. Part of the reasons that the Jentry Podcast exists is because there isn't that megaphone when things are going right. It's usually when things are going wrong, like you said, when you get a lot of phone calls. But no, I love to hear that community members appreciate the work you're doing. And yeah, no, I think you guys are thoughtful in how you guys are creating unique solutions to problems, whether it's working with developers, whether it's working with the Redevelopment Authority. Just for our viewers, I do want to click, because we often hear nationally there's a housing crisis, but what does that actually mean in Altoona? Like, what is needed? Like, sometimes I'll hear like in a mining town in Colorado, they don't have land. They have a lot of density and they don't have a lot of space. So they're trying to figure out what they can do to increase density. So I heard a town or borough actually in Pennsylvania. We have land, but we don't have enough development coming in, and we need to get maybe more jobs to bring other types of development in there. So what does that look like in Altoona? What's the balance, or is there's something that you may feel is missing or being cultivated?
So I think what's missing is we're a very established community. Housing stock is rather old. This was developed as a railroad town. So the vast majority of the way the city's laid out and the housing is, you're talking 75 to over 100 years old, 3-story houses, very tight, dense communities. So the challenge for us is, as we start to take down these properties through Blight, is try to reimagine what the consumer today wants. We get a lot of feedback that we'd like to see more single-story homes as the community ages. So that's really the tack that we're trying to go, is create that balance. We are, like I said, pretty built. So when there are considerable acreage available, we're being very aggressive about going out there and trying to acquire that. And doing that as public-private partnerships with the builders and the developers, so that we've created a list of projects and match the developers to the projects. We've got 3 development properties that are getting ready to come online right now, which were the first 3 major investments into not tearing properties down, but doing full restorations of these buildings. So we're going to add 3 more single-family homes back to the market in various neighborhoods across the city. And there are some development dollars that are tied to it and some restrictions. So working with the developers, we kept this inside those income guidelines so that they didn't overdevelop, and that, that they walk away with a profit margin as well. But we gain more rental property, or potentially the developers will sell it and we'll have more homeowners. That's the other part of the challenge, is creating that mix. You want rental property, but you also want homeowners that are invested in the community. We see a lot of out-of-town investors that have rental properties. And historically, the challenge has been, those are the ones that become the most dilapidated properties, have the most code challenges with them, because they don't have any skin in the game. City Council now, when there's repository bids on properties, puts a lot of time and effort into screening, are these going to be good fits? Not just sell the property for the sake of selling the property, but are we going to get somebody that's going to be invested in the community, that is, we're not going to have ongoing challenges with, and are going to help enact our strategic plan and our comprehensive plan about making this a more affordable and a better community.
Wow. It seems like you all are very hands-on when it comes to the thought process of how we want to rebuild certain parts of the city, and then for whom are we rebuilding those places for. I think you may have teased it out, but do you guys use any type of incentives with those developers, or is this pretty much just them wanting to come in and obviously gain that profit margin, or are there ways that the city is encouraging people to do development?
No, where there's the opportunity to incentivize a project, we do. With limited dollars, we want to make sure that any incentives that we put out there, that we really know that we're going to get that return on the investment, especially in the redevelopment authority. And the idea is, as these 3 properties that are coming online here in the next month, that the profit that the builders will make and then pay back to the redevelopment authority will be reinvested. So we're kind of taking a business approach to a government problem. And that's really helping. I have a fantastic community development director, and he's constantly out looking for those opportunities, and he's constantly out talking to the business community of where we can match business to government. And it's got to be win-wins for everybody. That, this isn't one-sided. And we've taken the long approach. And that's another thing that I'm very fortunate. You don't, in city management, often get councils that are completely aligned in their vision. And, it's very easy to chase the big shiny thing. It's hard to have patience and have strategic patience and be willing to sit on projects and do things correctly and play that long game. So, that's our strategic approach. Is we're in this for the long haul. This comprehensive plan, I've talked to all my staff and all my department directors, and I've even talked to the community about it. The last thing that I want this to do is be a plan that sits on the shelf, collects dust, and then 10 years from now, when the state mandates we do our next iteration of a comprehensive plan, we didn't accomplish anything. And we spend money to write another great plan, and everybody pats each other on the back that we developed a plan. No, we're in this to have meaningful outcomes. And I think it's a common sense approach. And that's the business side of the equation, is that, government isn't known for common sense, but that's what we're trying to do, is apply common sense across everything that we do, every process. And again, that gets to my internal with the staff, is operational and organizational excellence. Come to work every single day, make real impacts in the citizens' lives, be good stewards of our tax dollars, but have outcomes. I'm not worried about the outputs. I'm worried about outcomes in long term.
That makes a ton of sense, and it's great to hear, me coming from being part of the business community, just the emphasis on the long-term outcomes. We have like KPIs. If we're not hitting these, like I don't care. So it seems like you really, really focus on the long-term outcomes. And that kind of gets me to one thing you have teased out, but I do just want to double click on it. Across the United States, everyone is trying to make their community cradle to grave. So the traditional maybe route is you go to high school, you come out of high school, you go to get a trade, get your first job, go to a college, university, community college. Then you need an apartment. Then you maybe graduate, or you get a little bit further in your career, and then you want a very small house. Then you maybe have a family. You want a little bit of a bigger house. But then on the back end of that, like you said, the 1-story house, or being able to age in place as you retire and the kids are maybe out of the house. How do you feel Altoona is on that spectrum as far as being a cradle to grave community? Are there the jobs? I know you're working on the housing stock, and then like the ability to age in place. How do you think Altoona is doing?
So that's a great question. I think that we're doing a good job at addressing those issues. Having housing is key to keeping people in the community. And like you mentioned, we have to have that housing stock that is across the full spectrum. So that's a challenge right now. We don't, but we're working towards it. Now, holistically, as an ecosystem of the city, we've got great foundational partnerships with the school districts. We have very unique here is the Economic Development Authority. It's a consortium, so it's the Altoona Blair County Development Corporation. So, everybody in economic development in cities, your number one interest is yourself. But we've kind of stepped back a little bit and taken the rising tides, raise all ships approach, that even though that we're landlocked and we know there's not available acreage for mega sites, if things happen in the surrounding communities, and Altoona being the largest city in Blair County, there's a net benefit to us as well. So that's a little bit of a mindset change. Really, economic development, it's an arms race. And like you said, everybody's trying to get everything into their own community. We've decided that because this development corporation includes the economic development component, the Chamber of Commerce is merged under this corporation as well, and Discover Blair County, the recreation approach to bringing tourism dollars into the region. It's all nested under one organization. The mayor is actually a board member, and the county administrator and myself are the two management professionals that are on the advisory board for the corporation. So we have a seat at the table. It gives us greater insight into the thought process of what's coming in. So we know the leads that are out there in the community, a lot of due diligence into what would be a good fit. We're not necessarily chasing smokestacks. We're trying to find those long-term projects. Keeping the employment levels here in the city is important. Railroad community, we have railroads here, one of the major employers, and it's a healthcare economy. We've got the University of Pittsburgh Medical Center, Altoona here. So there's a broad spectrum of jobs and opportunities in the healthcare industry. And then we're also very fortunate that Penn State has their Altoona campus here as well. So we've got a higher education, and we've created real relationships with the dean, and we've had real meaningful conversations about what post-secondary education looks like. Is there a real need for everyone to go on to a 4-year degree, or is there a chance to pivot and get into more of the skilled trades? So it's a really unique opportunity. They've got some really brilliant people here that all have and have all bought into the collective vision of not only the city of Altoona, but Blair County and in this region of Pennsylvania. So with those thought leaders, anything's possible when we're all working together.
Wow, that is incredible. I think what you said that resonated with me in a real way was we understand those issues and we're addressing them because I mean, you said that as well. Across the nation, everybody's trying to achieve that. And I haven't quite seen one community that has it perfect on every level, but it's you're understanding the things that you need to keep and the things you need to work on. And that I think that is very impressive and speaks to the fact that you're really listening to the community. On that note, what's one initiative or thing that's being implemented that you're very excited about coming up?
So we're in the midst of implementing a new ERP, Enterprise Resource Planning platform. And after months of evaluating all the different systems that are out there, we settled on OpenGov. And this gets back to the communications with the citizens and the transparency piece. We've implemented the full suite of OpenGov. So from codes enforcement to community development, to public works, to finance, contract management, solicitation, tax collection. We are implementing this cutting edge technology. The first phase will go online probably February with codes, community development, and public works. And then the second phase, a little more complicated for the implementation, is the finance piece because we're paying third-party tax collectors right now. And as having the ability to collect taxes on our own and in-source that and in-house that, this OpenGov platform is giving us that opportunity to do that. So we will probably go fully online by next summer with the finance piece. And then my ultimate goal with that was complete transparency. So, anytime that there's a change in tax rates, rightfully so, everybody's upset. But just like all of us in our own personal lives that have seen prices increase, it's no different for government. We say that, people don't necessarily believe that. So having this ability to be completely transparent in every piece of our financial operation, in every piece of how we operate as a city, I'm a firm believer is going to create more citizen buy-in. I want them at every city council meeting when we give the financial updates to be able to see like you said, business, key performance indicators. Where are the metrics? Where is those tax dollars going? The other part of that to get to the transparency phase is on the OpenGov platform, they have a citizens engagement component, Comcate. So I'm looking forward to having that fully implemented. And what that does, it's a citizen app. So if you have a pothole on your street, you can take a picture of that pothole, send it in on the app. It'll get routed to the correct department. And then the department director will have real-time visibility of it, and there'll be back-to-forth engagement between that department and that citizen. I'll also get real-time visibility on that. So if there's any conflicts, any pain points, or things are starting to slip, I'll have real-time visibility to reach back out to either the citizen or to the department and say, hey, look, it's been 72 hours, you haven't given the citizen a response, all in an effort to let people be engaged, let them know that they have a seat at a table and they have a voice. I'm a firm believer that everything in my perspective is better when you grow it from the ground up versus top down. Taking that time to engage with the citizens, giving them another platform to be able to reach elected officials, city officials to get their problems resolved, I think is a complete net positive. The other part of the OpenGov that I'm so excited about is it's going to be a complete transformation, and it gets to my organizational operational excellence goals that I've established for each one of my department heads. Now there's processes. We've fixed the broken processes. We're going to align everything completely in a very transparent system, and we're going to be able to hold each other accountable. I want the citizens to hold us accountable, and it gives me the ability to hold staff accountable. And I think that's going to be the most meaningful change when you dovetail that with all the ordinance reviews, with our new zoning ordinance, our new subdivision land development ordinance, and our comprehensive plan. It's that whole of government approach that I think for the next 10 years will really position us to make things better for the citizens and grow this community in line with what the comprehensive plan envisioned.
I love that. And I think that government transparency is key. And you hit the nail on the head. If you can see us working towards the metrics or the guidelines within the comprehensive plan, you see how much money that costs. It's a little bit easier to stomach some of the real decisions that'll have to be made in accordance to getting there. Now, I have to ask, and everything can't be all sunshines and rainbows, I always say. Now, if you had unlimited budget, a limited time, unlimited people to work on one issue, what is one challenge that if you can just snap your fingers in a race, what would that challenge be?
I did. That's a great question because there's challenges every day. Infrastructure, if there was a way to have the resources that are available to fix the infrastructure, that would be the magic bullet. Now, with our ARPA funding, we invested nearly 80% of the ARPA funds into huge infrastructure projects. But it's an aging city. We're fortunate that we've made those investments. We've got People's Gas in the city right now doing a 5-year replacement of all the gas lines in the city. We're growing, so we've got communication companies bringing fiber to parts of the cities that don't currently have it. And then the water authorities doing the lead line renewal, going after any potential lead water lines, and they're making meaningful investments in the city. So that's the biggest pain point right now. Roads are torn up, lots of work going on. And it's because it's long-term projects, it's hard to articulate that so that citizens understand. We all live in the neighborhoods as well. We know we're driving on the same streets, we're hitting the same potholes. We get it. We're just asking that you're a little bit patient with us and that long-term outcome will be the benefit. And then if I had more road dollars to do more paving, streets are such a pain point. There's never enough dollars. There's no grant dollars out there to do meaningful street repair. We've been very judicious in our budgeting and our approach, and we've set aside quite a bit of our budget to do that. But it's never fast enough and it's never enough. We had a bunch of citizens inquiries and I met with the citizen groups about streets. If we were going to do full depth restoration and repair every street in the city of Altoona, we would be somewhere in the $275 to $300 million range. So when I put that in that kind of perspective for people and say, okay, if we go after this, this is what it does to your taxes. That's kind of given us some breathing space. Now people really understand how much it costs. But again, if I had that one magic bullet and I could wave the wand, it would be having enough infrastructure dollars to tackle all the infrastructure challenges, because infrastructure is not sexy. Doesn't make headlines, but it's what keeps city running, and it's what costs cities the most.
For sure, I've heard that across the nation, and it's also something that it's easy to kick the can to the next administration, to the next term, but when it goes south, it goes very south, and a lot of cities, it seems like, they had infrastructure that was put in, 50, 70, 100 years ago. And now it's kind of coming to that point. But, how do you create such, I mean, in your case, 270 million, how do you create that in a budget and, communicating that to taxpayers in a way that tells them like, hey, this is what the taxes would be if we did that, is effective in helping everyone understand. But it is definitely an issue. And I wish I had that answer, that silver bullet of how to
Yeah,
alleviate.
whoever can solve that,
Yes.
they're onto something. And if you come across the city manager that solved it, please include me in on that conversation, because I'd love. I think we're being creative, but it's just a huge challenge. And like you said, there's a cost of inaction, and you can only defer things so long to the point where it's not deferred maintenance anymore. You're doing things from the ground back up. We're trying to avoid that. It's not perfect, but I think we're doing the best we can with the limited resources we have in that arena.
For sure. Yeah, no, I have not come across an answer, but Chris, when I do, I will, I will definitely pass it along. Now, I always like to hear, because a lot of our viewers are young, and we did a survey recently, like 600 the age 18 to 23 to kind of get their view on government. How are you guys reaching out to young people? Are there any things that you guys are doing to keep them engaged or support them throughout their careers? I'd love to hear any young people engagement work you guys have done.
So we're looking for meaningful opportunities to do that, to target the youth. We're kicking around some ideas about some shadowing experiences with the colleges and the universities and with the high school, whether that is a shadow experience in public works so you can see the trades, if that's the route you're going, or if it's inside City Hall in one of the departments, if you're looking at a public administration or a business degree. You know, that's a challenge. We've got to grow the bench. So that's a real opportunity that we're hoping that we can make some meaningful inroads. I think the opening conversations with the school districts and with the universities has been very productive. And I'm hoping within the next 12 to 18 months to have some kind of program codified that we're bringing people in here for some kind of meaningful shadow experience. I'm also looking to see if there's some opportunities for some intern opportunities in either code enforcement, economic development, or here in the city manager's office, because there's so much more that goes on in this office than just my piece of it. The city clerk operates out of the city manager's office as well. So I think that the more engagement that you get with the youth and the citizens and they understand government, you know, right now, I think it's across the board. There's a very poor view of government. Some of it's well-deserved, most of it's not. And I think the challenge for municipal government is we're the closest ones. You can be angry with the state legislature. You can be angry with the federal government. You're not going to be able to go talk to anybody. But City Hall and city government is open all the time. People are going to come in. They're going to voice their displeasure. You know, what I tell all my staff is the approach that you need to take is this is happening in front of you, not to you. Don't get emotionally involved. Let people come in, voice their complaints. Let's find meaningful solutions. The other thing that I've told all my staff going forward is we operate under the premise of yes if, not no because of. Now, we might eventually work our way to a no, regulatory, statutory, legal requirements, but the starting point's not going to be what government is very good at, is just that blanket no up front. No, it's about that whole process improvement piece. Is we're going to find creative ways to come to compromise it. You know, it might not be the complete yes that somebody came in and asked for, but I think there's opportunities to get meaningful dialogue going and finding ways to come to compromises and move projects forward. The other thing that I share with my staff all the time, there's a reason that the windshield is bigger than the rearview mirror. It's not that we don't want to learn from the lessons of the past, but our future lies ahead of us, and we're in the driver's seat right now, and we can impact that future.
Wow. I think that what you said is so important. And across the nation, people are trying to build that bench with young people. And there is, because of the things you stated, sometimes a negative connotation and view of government. Yeah, a lot of times it has nothing to do with municipal government. It may be just how they've heard or view federal government. Different cases, but you are there. You are the ability to speak to. But that's part of the reason of the Gentry podcast and why we work so hard to engage young people and show them the different careers within the within public service. So yeah, we do a lot of panels, and if I see that some people are coming to our panels and they're from the Altoona area, I'll definitely send them your way. And I love the internship. I love the job shadowing. So many city managers that I've spoken to, or mayors too, they got a chance to shadow, and that was what they did in high school, and it like set them on this path. So and now they're leading cities. So it is very important. So I applaud you guys for starting to implement that. My final question, and I think you gave me the perfect segue talking about the future. In 25 years, what are community members going to be saying about Altoona?
My goal is 25 years from now that the citizens are saying that the city listened to us, they engaged with us, they took our feedback, and we've created a community that we've always wanted. We've created a community where there's not a brain drain. We've created the opportunities to have another 150 years of great things for the city of Altoona. And it gets back to what I had said earlier. We are completely invested in, we are playing the long game. We're not looking for the quick, easy wins. We're rolling our sleeves up. We're doing the dirty work. but it's all with the intention of that comprehensive plan 10 years from now, when we get into the next iteration, that we can say we hit all those benchmarks and take it from a good city to a great city.
It's the blocking and tackling that people don't want to do. What do they say? Eating your vegetables. So the long term planning and long term goals are most important, not the short term wins. And I appreciate that, and I hope that many more cities can truly live and believe that as well. So, Chris, on behalf of Gentry, just like to say thank you. This has been a great interview. You guys are so thoughtful on everything from housing to comprehensive plan and actually hitting those goals. So I really want to say thank you for being here. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you. And on behalf of the mayor and the city council and the whole city staff, thank you for this opportunity for us to tell all the great things that this government is doing and that this city is doing. And again, thank you so much.
Totally my pleasure. Thank you. So for all our viewers, we couldn't do it without you. Thank you for tuning in to the Gentry Podcast. Again, I'm Jonathan Mason, your host, and this has been Chris McGuire, the city manager of Altoona, Pennsylvania. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.